Hi, happy whatever day today is and whatever. So we are starting our first unit, our first real unit on stuff that we haven't looked at before. You haven't looked at before in a previous grade, and this unit one is all about the integers. That would be our first definition that we're going to look at. Those integers. Excuse me. So integers. Let's start by defining those. Integers are simply positive and negative whole numbers. Positive and negative whole numbers, including 0. So you'll notice that when I'm writing notes, I always do my zeros with the little line through like that. And that is just so that you know the difference between my zeros and my letter O's. So my zeros, I just usually draw the line through them like that. So integers, positive and negative whole numbers, including 0. And when we're talking whole numbers, that means whole numbers means no decimals. And just along with no decimals means no fractions also. So integers, positive and negative whole numbers, no fractions, no decimals. And 0 obviously is included. So some examples of some positive and negative whole numbers. 0, obviously. -5, 7, 157 maybe if you're getting crazy. Any kind of whole number, no decimal, no fraction. I've got this little image here that just talks to you about a number line. Remember, 0 is neither positive or negative. That's why in our definition I have to make that little sentence about including 0, because 0 is not positive or negative. Negative integers are to the left of 0 because they're getting smaller, they're less than 0, and positive ones are to the right of 0 because they're larger. All right, so then we talk about inequalities. Inequalities, you are familiar with them, you have seen them before. Those are these guys. So that first one, it looks like an L. If I hold my hands up, and you'll notice in class, I do this all the time. If I hold my hands up, this one makes an L, so this is the less than inequality, making this other one the greater than. We just use that to compare numbers. Absolute value. This is an important definition here, this absolute value. Absolute value is, I don't want that one. Absolute value is a number's distance from 0 on a number line. The distance from 0 on a number line. So we look at absolute value. We have absolute value bars. These are called absolute value bars. Absolute. I spelled that wrong. OL. There we go. Just erase it and try again. Woo, OL. UT. Absolute value bars. And there's another really important sentence about absolute value. Absolute value, I'm abbreviating absolute, will always be positive. And the reason that it's always positive is because absolute value represents a distance. You cannot have a negative distance. We can't have a negative distance. Yes, you can walk backwards. Yes, you can retrace your steps, but no matter what, you're still walking a positive distance. There's nothing you can do so that you are walking a negative distance ever. Even if you're going underground, you're still going a distance. It's just underground or below sea level. And then just let's look at a couple quick examples over to the side here for absolute value. So if I have the absolute value of negative 11, how many spaces from 0 is 11? Or negative 11, I mean. That would be 11. And then how many spaces from 0 is positive 11? Also 11. So absolute value will always be positive. You're never going to take something like positive 11 and end up with a negative 11 when you're taking absolute value. All right, couple examples. So example 1 here is asking you to write a number, write an integer to represent 5 degrees below 0. Well, 5 degrees below 0 would be that negative 5. And now number 2 is just asking you to kind of go backwards. I gave you a situation for example 1, and you wrote an integer. I'm giving you an integer of negative 7, and I want you to write a situation in real life that comes up with something like that. So you could do, I withdrew $7 from my account. I swam 7 feet below sea level. I spent $7. Any kind of sentence that's talking about negative 7. I ask you to do that in your homework, but with negative 250. So finally, this example 3, fill in the blank with either the less than, greater than, or equal to. So 9 blank negative 5. 9 is greater than negative 5, which is not the right symbol. That's the less than symbol. So let's try that again. 9 is greater, there we go, than negative 5. In B, though, we can't do anything yet until we do a little bit of simplifying. We can't decide. What is the absolute value of negative 4? Well, that's 4. So now how does 4 compare to 4? Well, those are equal. Now C, you might think that C automatically is the same thing, but it's actually not. What is the absolute value of 6? Still 6. How does 6 compare to negative 6? Well, 6 is greater than negative 6. All right, there you go. You've got your notes for 1-1. You've got your homework assignment. Make sure you submit it when you're done.